With the WWF coming off a big SummerSlam pay-per-view last night in what was set to be one of the biggest draw audiences of the year, Nitro instead had a free unopposed night to potentially get some of the massive audience that was going to watch Raw between 9 to 11 to sample its product for the first time in months, with Russo, as he mentioned on the company website last week, planning loaded shows starting this week on the way to Raw's USA to TNN channel switch on September 25th. In what is seen as a rare opportunity due to the Raw audience being unsettled in different time slots and networks over the next 4 weeks. After arriving in a limousine together to open the broadcast with a video package establishing that the band is back together, referring to the last version of the NWO which started and ended in December to January without mentioning the actual name, Russo, Nash, Steiner and Jarrett along with the Natural Born Thrillers group came out for a promo, with Russo saying that this is the elite group that he planned to reform since entering the company 11 months ago, reviving the original angle built since arriving at the company with the reformation of the NWO to go against Goldberg that was cut short a week after it started, with Goldberg smashing the limousine window and Bret Hart suffering concussion symptoms, as Jarrett and Steiner hyped their pay-per-view matches against Awesome and Goldberg at Fall Brawl before Nash took the microphone for the heel turn explanation, saying that his nickname should be the Puppet Master as every couple months he lures people and so they buy his merchandise before turning on them again to reveal his real personality, hyping his title match against Booker at Fall Brawl with him as the next champion before Russo interfered, telling him that it's not gonna happen at the pay-per-view, instead booking the Nash vs. Booker title match for tonight, bringing out Booker followed by Cat for the response to end this segment in a brawl, just as Goldberg showed up on screen digging a grave in the desert, saying that he's gonna drag Russo and bury him to start a show-long angle, bumping Nitro over 700,000 viewers to a 3.1 rating in the second quarter with a larger than usual audience tuning in early in the show. A unique inside angle for Nitro was set last Wednesday as a bet between Vince Russo and Jeremy Borash on the WCW website Internet Audio Show, with Russo suggesting a bet on the show that Borash must get his head shaved on the Nitro broadcast next week if the opening quarter rating would be higher on the night than it was the previous week, as with last week's Nitro opening with a 2.4 rating. If the opening quarter tonight draws a 2.5 rating or above, then Borash gets his head shaved on the air, which happened as Nitro opened with a 2.6 rating to set the angle for next week, with Russo letting Borash announce a match on Nitro with Tony and Madden in return for the stipulation, as Borash, who hosts the WCW internet shows, also called by Russo to sit in production meetings, with the current creative committee includes Russo, Ferrara, Taylor, Disco, Borash and Banks, with Russo writing the full TV scripts for Nitro while Ferrara and Taylor being more involved in the writing of Thunder before the entire committee goes over the scripts to suggest changes and ideas. The Booker vs. Nash WCW title match that was originally set to headline the Fall Brawl pay-per-view was placed at the top of the hour to potentially attract regular Raw viewers tuning in at 9 p.m., leading to Nitro jumping over 1.1 million viewers to a peak 4.1 rating, making the Nash vs. Booker match the highest-rated match on a WCW broadcast since Hogan vs. Flair on February 14. Going 8 minutes with Jarrett as a special referee, eventually turning on Booker to lead to Nash going over to win the WCW title. Nitro had major angles coming one after another in hopes of hooking viewers with a loaded program and hovered around the 3.8 to 4 rating for the rest of the show. As minutes following the Nash Booker title change, Shane Douglas cut a promo from the crowd to end in a big spot with him throwing Crowbar off the balcony in the build to his Kidman match, issuing an open challenge to bring out Bill Goldberg to take him out. As with Goldberg and Russo in the center of tonight's show as the main angle, Russo talked about his real-life relationship with Goldberg improving in the last 2 weeks due to the more clear-cut crowd reactions, with Russo back on TV as a heel and Goldberg as he wanted from the start turning back babyface, responding to people comparing the Goldberg vs. Russo angle to Austin vs. McMahon, saying that both angles are completely different coming from the guy who wrote the McMahon-Austin feud, with Goldberg and Austin both having issues with authority figures but for different reasons. Talking about his legit issues with Goldberg, saying that there's a trust issue from Goldberg's side which he wanted to use in the storyline to build the heat for their TV confrontations and make them as believable as possible, including preparing for the possibility of Goldberg double-crossing him on air and signing his release contract in the segment last Monday. With last Monday's first opposed quarter on Nitro holding viewers better than usual with its strongest opening segment since June, featuring a Booker vs. Palumbo title match with Russo out as special referee, Russo talked about analyzing the minute-by-minute ratings of both Nitro and Raw last week, noting that with both shows having 10 commercial breaks with 5 in each hour, Raw usually only take 4 breaks in the opposed 9 to 10 p.m. hour while saving 6 for when Nitro goes off the air. Talking about changing the formula going forward after experimenting last Monday, which had a noticeable effect on viewers' retention as there's usually massive turnover for both programs during commercials. After Nash, Steiner and Jarrett were all taken out in the past hour, the hyped Goldberg-Russo confrontation opened Nitro's final quarter with Russo calling out Goldberg while bringing Vito as protection, ending up with Vito turning on Russo to drive him to the grave in the desert for the show closing angle. As while Goldberg and Russo were on the way to the location, Sting vs. Muta was placed as the main event match, ending in a brawl with Vampiro and ICP climbing on the entrance set, going back to the desert in the final minute of the broadcast, with Bret Hart making a surprise appearance driving in with another car, blaming Russo for Montreal, saying that he has done more to screw with his family and career than anybody in the business, ending up with Bret turning on Goldberg, blaming him for ending his career due to the head kick at Starrcade last year, with the final quarter with the Russo-Goldberg angles and Sting-Muta match along with the Bret Goldberg-Russo payoff segment jumping back over 500,000 viewers to a joint peak 4.1 rating, with Nitro overall jumping to a 3.5 rating in its highest rated show since February and the most watched WCW program since September last year.